From the heart of Maine, this is the DuView Podcast.
All right, and welcome to your December episode of the DuView Podcast. I'm your host, Du, a.k.a. Ryan Duon, and joining me to my right is my lovely girlfriend, Miss Becca Bolduc, who you saw previously come on for her first episode this year. And usually I know you guys are like, well, you're short two people, you know, Holiday Roundtable, right? Usually have more people. I tell you what, guys, this December has been not a mess, but it's kind of been a mess. Between, you know, acquiescing to new holiday activities with, you know, a new little family and everything like that, to just actually being sick as a dog for the last few weeks. It's been difficult to really, you know, kind of get things off the ground, to put something together. Usually try to do things in advance, and it just didn't happen this year. So
everything just came super quick.
Right. And that being said, you know, we just kind of wanted to piece something together. And I appreciate Becca coming on and helping me with this for still technically a holiday roundtable. We're still going to cover some things, still going to review the year and just kind of talk about what's to come and basically, you know, just kind of put something together at the end of the year for you guys, more or less in a roundabout way, and the lack of explaining anything else in any other terms. So like I said, I've just been busy between finals with school and, you know, like I said, being sick and, you know, having a family, and, you know, you can't always, you know, just do things for yourself. You have to, like, not make sacrifices, but I guess in a roundabout way, make sacrifices and just kind of roll with things.
Absolutely.
That's definitely, I guess, if we're talking about things we've learned this year, that's definitely something new for me. Which it comes with the territory, right? You know,
sure.
But that said, I know, like, we're spending our first Christmas together, Becca, and so I already actually had a great Christmas at your aunt. Shout out to Aunt Rocky and Ray. They're fantastic people, and we had a great time. And it's just different, I guess, for me being a part of another family. You know what I mean? For, you know, it's all brand new.
Right. Exactly. And it was so much fun.
It was. And I mean, like, having Christmas with the kids, and it's, I guess, to kind of get it out of the way for me, I kind of had like almost like a reawakening of the Christmas spirit, I guess, this year. I guess, like I was kind of talking with you previous to this episode, not that I've kind of become a Scrooge or like anything like that. I mean, I still really like and appreciate Christmas, but like, I guess, you know, and I mean, I have to preface this, I have two great parents who love me dearly and would do anything for me, but having divorced parents at Christmas time, especially being at an older age when they, you know, being in high school when they got divorced, really kind of changed my whole feeling for like the holiday season.
Yep.
You know,
absolutely.
And so I guess for the last few years, I've really been trying to get that, I guess, the spirit of Christmas back, or whatever you want to call it. And spending time with the kids this Christmas, I think, really did that for me, to see, like, you know, especially with them, like you do the elf on the shelf thing with them, which I think is awesome. That you're able to come up with all those different ideas, you know, to do with the elves. But I mean, it's amazing, you know, like, that you're able to do that. You know, that's commitment.
Oh, absolutely. And it's fun. It's just to see, like, their reaction is the best.
I know, and I guess that's the same thing for me, you know, taking whether it be one or two of them to, you know, like a holiday parade and, you know, other things like that. It just really reawakened the whole reason for the season thing. It's about really, at the end of the day, the whole holiday season is about other people. It's not about yourself.
No.
And that's something that I had to remember as well.
Yep. Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
But for your guys, is, you know, whether it be like your mom or your dad's side of the family, do you guys have any special traditions or anything that you guys do this time of year?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what we did yesterday,
Right.
That kind of went away for a little while, but we brought it back now that my Aunt Rocky is back up in Maine. She was down in Florida for a few years, so it's nice to kind of have that tradition come back where we do, like, the Secret Santa and you know, have a good, like, Christmas fun time together. And then on the 24th, we're gonna go to my sister and Scott's brand new house, my brother Scott's house, and have a good fun Christmas game time, and yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a newer tradition.
Yep.
We used to do something a little different on Christmas Eve, but things change, life changes.
As we
and
did too. I mean, we used to get together with my mom and my dad, obviously, and my uncles, and do well, my grandmother was alive
Yep.
too. We used to do hors d'oeuvres on Christmas Eve, like finger sandwiches, like, scallops
Yeah.
and bacon and all that
Yep.
type of stuff. And deviled eggs, which are my
Mhm.
favorite. God, I love deviled eggs. I know you're not a fan,
No.
but I love them. I love them. God damn. I've made it through the holiday season so far without having any of them. So
I know.
I'm gonna have to find some.
Yep.
But that said, yeah, I similar. Like things do change over time.
Yeah.
But then like when you have kids and like, I mean, they had a grand old time, yesterday, and I think this whole holiday season.
Oh, yeah.
they've had a blast, and I mean that's what it's about ultimately. That and getting together with the family.
For
But,
sure.
you guys are I'd say moderate sized family events, not super like hundreds of family members,
No,
but
no. And that's like, I mean, when we were younger, like that's kind of how it was. Not like hundreds of people, but the parties were definitely a lot bigger and
Right.
more grand. But I mean, like I said, things change and it's still fun. I mean, we
Oh,
still
yeah.
make the best of it,
Yeah.
and it's still a great time.
Well, without a doubt, as one does, and so I guess the next like holiday themed question I have for you is Christmas music a yay or a nay for you personally?
I think it depends on the song.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, I mean, when it's around the holiday season, I
Yeah,
can't
yeah, yeah.
stand when people start it like right after Thanksgiving and play it all throughout
That is
the
definitely
stores. It's like, dude, I could never.
that is
imagine.
definitely a high point of contention, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's yeah, that I'm personally, I mean, I don't mind listening to it, but like there's a certain, I guess, like cutoff date for me with certain Christmas songs, like.
Mhm.
And it's funny, I watched this great YouTube. I have to find this YouTube video and share it at some point. But basically, it talked about like why they don't really make Christmas songs anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's like if you think about it, the majority of Christmas music that we listen to was made in like the 40s and 50s and maybe 60s. And then like you have a couple songs like here and there that are like different, like Air Ride, the instrumental, like instrumental Christmas stuff
Yep.
and different thing, Air Supply rather, and different stuff like that. And I mean, then you have like your 80s George Michael and like your Eagles like Christmas songs that are kind of
Yeah.
like whiny and sad,
Right.
like, but at the same time are still good songs.
Mhm.
But I get that. I think personally for me, my favorite Christmas song would have to be either Do They Know It's Christmas by Band Aid, which the whole are you familiar with the whole story for that song?
No.
So basically, this is all British, like the top British musicians at the time, in the 1984, 83, I can't remember exactly which year, but basically you had tremendously terrible famines in Africa.
Yep.
And so basically this is prior to the Live Aid concerts that they did to raise money for that tragedy. And basically, you have Phil Collins playing drums along with all these other really good British musicians from, George Michael to, anybody who was really big in the 80s,
Yep.
from there. In on this basically song, and they used it as basically like a fundraiser, and which eventually this would, like I said, leave to the Live Aid concerts. Well, in the United States, they were doing the whole "We Are the World" thing,
Yep.
and so
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
kind of our response to that. And then eventually, like I said, they'd had the concerts. I mean, there is some debate whether how much of the money actually made it to the people of Ethiopia, but
Yeah,
that's here nor there
Right.
for the purposes of our story. We're not worrying about that.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, no, you've got to be careful with your charities around the holiday season too. But that's here nor there. Or also there's by the Royal Guardsmen, they have that Snoopy's Christmas.
Yes. Yep.
Where like the Red Baron, his plane ices up, and then he ends up landing behind. This is all set in World War I for those of you that don't know, because if you watch the Charlie Brown Christmas or any of the Charlie Brown specials, he's always fighting the Red Baron. He's especially the Halloween one when he's on literally flying the doghouse.
Right.
But,
Yep.
it's those have always stood out as just being my favorite, and like I said, for me, my holiday music love is very much grounded in like those 40s and like Nat King Cole, Sinatra, Dean Martin, like your classic like Bing Crosby, the crooners, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
those are the quintessential Christmas songs for me, with I guess one exception.
Right.
But then moving into other forms of, Christmas media too, you have obviously there's a whole slew of Christmas movies. What would be your favorite Christmas movie if you had to narrow it down?
Probably my favorite app, the Santa Claus, like the first one.
Yep.
I love it. I could watch it over and over and over again. Such a great Christmas movie.
It is. And I mean, Tim Allen is just amazing. You know what I mean? He's a great actor.
Oh yeah.
And I mean his.
It's just timeless. I just feel like it'll never get old. Like my kids love it, and
Right.
I feel like my grandkids will love it. It's just
yeah. Oh yeah.
great film.
And then alternatively though, you have like Christmas with the Cranks, which
Yes.
is kind of cute. Which we went to go see
Yep.
that. Shout out to the Strand Theater in Skowhegan for showing free Christmas movies, guys. How many other communities in the state of Maine do that? The Strand does in Skowhegan. That's where they do it
every year.
Every year
they
they
pick
have
different ones.
different ones, but they you had what, the Polar Express and Christmas with the Cranks this year.
And Christmas Story.
And Christmas, I mean, a
Yep.
classic. I was gonna say, you want to know my favorite Christmas movie? It is A Christmas Story. Actually, as you know, I was lucky enough. My mom and I went out to Ohio, specifically Cleveland, Ohio, this past May, and I was lucky enough to go to the Christmas Story house. It is still there. It looks exactly like it came out of the movie, and it's just the whole story of how that movie even got made was incredible. They had the guy who directed it, directed the Porky's, they're almost like a really lowbrow, almost skin flick type of comedy thing from the 80s, and it's like, how did this guy end up doing a very heartfelt, touching, the quintessential, even you could adapt that story, I guess what I'm saying. So yeah, maybe it's not with the cars from the 40s, or whatever, but or the 30s, but you could adapt that story to today. I mean,
for sure.
Even if you kept the, I know BB guns probably aren't as,
popular
as they probably used to be, but even if it was a Nerf gun or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still think you could tell that story today. I mean, it's so well done. Like the fact that the dad comes out, he's swearing, but he's not actually swearing. You know what I mean? And they have a transcript of what he actually says when he's fighting the furnace down in the basement. We got a clanker! And he's yelling at the thing. I have watched that movie probably more times than I have consumed any other piece of physical media, hands down. I mean, because they show it on TBS all day long.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? 24 hours a day.
Yep.
On
Christmas, I think, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
they still do. And I mean, I remember being a kid, my grandmother loved that movie. And like I said, it just struck a chord with our family. It's an important part. And, think very fondly back watching that movie with her and, everything like that because, not everybody's around forever. You know? So
absolutely.
you just try to make the good memories when you can and, dwell on them fondly. But at the same time, we remember, the different pieces and that go with that.
Right.
But, like I said, the Christmas Story house, very interesting. The one other thing they used for the snow in the movie, it was actually not a very snowy year. And they filmed a lot of that movie in Canada, too. Believe it or not, but they did. The house was actually in Cleveland, right outside of Cleveland, in one of the little suburbs. But they used firefighting foam, and that has carcinogens in it, and so people were getting sick.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
So they used instant mashed potato as another
Interesting.
out of a box to make the snow as well. It was just really interesting.
I mean, I guess it's better than asbestos that they used in The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
but,
right. No, seriously. Yeah, no, you don't want asbestos at all either.
No.
That's it's amazing what they were able to use in the movie industry
Oh,
back
I
in
know.
the day.
It's insane.
Not good at all. Yeah, no, it's really wicked carcinogenic. It's just you'll probably get sick. But yeah, no, but like I said, a very relatable movie. I mean, I understand kids probably don't they have the fake teeth and stuff like that, but it's just developed into different, when they're sitting in the classroom and the teacher has all the prank stuff in the drawer. You know what I mean? I'm sure that just translates to something else, whether it be cell phones or whatever. I mean, kids are running around with fart apps and whatever, back like we were when iPhones came out. So who knows? You know what I'm saying? But moving to a little bit different of a medium, there are so many great, I think personally great Christmas shows out there,
For
Christmas
sure.
specials. So again, similar question, what would be if you had to consider your favorite show, obviously?
Top one definitely is Year Without a Santa Claus.
Okay, yeah. So we're in agreement on that.
Or, I mean, I
that's
like
pretty
a
high up
lot of
there.
those ones, but
Yeah.
that one's definitely top tier.
Oh yeah, I mean Heat Miser, Snow Miser are
It's
they're
amazing.
essential,
It's
you
so
know?
good. You have to watch it every year. It's great.
without a doubt. I mean, the whole concept and story. I mean, yeah, probably Santa does get tired every once in a while, dude.
He gets sick.
Yeah,
He's a human.
He's a busy guy, and I think it's a good a good life lesson for everybody who's busy,
Absolutely.
though, at the same time, too, is you got to take a moment for yourself. Not easy, not always the easiest thing to do, but you do have
Nope.
to take a minute for yourself to, to really be the best you can be, right? You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
and that's true at the holiday season too, because I guess what I kind of wanted to get to a little bit earlier, and I guess I'll just preface it now, is that the holiday season isn't always an easy time for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Like as a kid, and I'm sure you probably thought the same way I did. Like when I was younger, my mom would tell me like, well, not everybody has a good time at the holidays,
Right.
but
Yeah.
and I kind of became one of those people. Oddly enough, like I wasn't miserable, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and don't get me wrong, I had plenty of people around me that loved me and wanted to do things. Not like I'm a trying to like sell a sob story here, but like it's just becomes different,
Yeah.
over time, and it's
Right.
just I can understand now why some people don't like the holiday season because it is tough, like especially if you maybe like a lot of your family isn't around
Mm-hmm.
or whatever it may be, the circumstances that led you to where you are,
Yeah.
and I unfortunately, like I said, I get that now,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that that's. I mean, kind of a message we do learn in certain other mediums, too.
Oh,
But
for sure.
I mean, like I said, getting back to the shows though, A Year Without a Santa Claus is fantastic. Any of the Rankin Bass,
Yeah.
Rudolph's Shiny New Year's, another
Yeah.
one. I know it's not
I like the Jack
specifically.
Frost one too.
Yeah,
I love that one.
Yep, yeah, that's another good one.
The one I can't remember the name of it, but it's like the one with like Santa Claus's story too of
Oh
him
yeah,
like
this Santa Claus.
Is it-
right? I think
no,
right.
it's the one. It's like it's still one of those claymation ones, but it's
Are you talking about the one where like you have the
The
mailman,
elves?
the mailman as the like the narrator?
I think yes
With Meisterburger,
Yeah, yeah.
Burgermeister. Yeah, I mean, I just thought that was just like Santa Claus. I
It's-
thought. I could be
I
wrong.
can't remember what it's
I could- I
called.
could- I
It's
could definitely be
something.
wrong.
I can't remember, but that one's a good one too.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty decent piece. No, that's true. Like I said, it's a good origin story. They have a couple different ones that they. I remember being a kid though and being kind of afraid of the one that like where Santa Claus is like learning from like Father Time or the one he was like learning from like some like Earth looking dude. Like I don't know. Maybe it was a really interesting. It was one of the the claymation animated ones, but it went like way back in time, and it dealt with all like the different elemental spirits and stuff like that. Do you remember that?
I vaguely.
You-
I feel like some of them
It
I
was
was
just some
like,
of them were
ugh.
like some of them were really good, but like a couple of them were like kind of nightmare fuel.
Yeah,
For me anyway.
for sure.
I don't know. It's just
Well, Eon used to kind of give me the creeps
yeah,
too.
that's
The bird.
fair. Well, he was. I mean, he's the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Robin literally stealing kids.
Yeah.
But that said, any of those, and I think honestly, personally, one of my favorite ones that I think kind of like goes under the radar. I think thinking back to childhood, is like all of the other reindeer, the dog Olive.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a cute one.
Yeah.
That has a really sweet and kind of touching message.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one, I mean, this is just kind of funny, and I just always got a kick out of it. And I think some of the songs are pretty funny. Is Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer?
Yes, I do.
I
Remember
think
that one.
I mean, I think the whole like journey is kind of noble, trying to get Grandma back to save the family business because you
Yes.
have that like one greedy aunt or whatever she whatever.
Was that a show or was that a movie?
I'm pretty sure that was it's technically kind of a show. It could be a movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what I mean? Like
I do remember that.
when I'm saying like movies, I'm talking like Elf or
Right.
you know
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Like they had major theatrical releases. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And the Santa Claus
Okay.
definitely did.
Oh,
You know what I
yes.
mean? That's one of Disney's quit. They even built like a whole series around that,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, like on Disney Plus, I'm pretty sure. Like,
Season 2 out now.
yeah. Well, and that's I guess the other. What do you paid ad? Like
I
what's
wish.
this? I know, me too.
I love
yeah,
them.
You believe you me. I'll take some of that Disney money. I don't care. Yeah, no, seriously. Disney. Hey, no. But that said, looking at the different, like Christmas media that's out there, there are a lot of really good touching stories,
Mhm.
and whether it be like, Babe the Christmas Cow or, whatever, there's so many different really good ones out there. And so, like I said, you have all your different options, but it's also funny, I guess, before we move on from like the media side of Christmas, like some of the films that take place during Christmas, so people consider them to be
Die Hard.
Die Hard's a prime example.
I literally.
I mean, you're wearing your Harry Potter.
Yes, people consider Harry Potter.
That's what I was just saying. Harry Potter has a Christmas scene.
Yes.
So,
Well,
but-
I literally just heard some woman. We were out to lunch yesterday, and she's just like, "Oh, I wanted to watch Die Hard yesterday," and I'm like, "Well, it's not a Christmas movie."
whoa! You're gonna get us.
Well,
in trouble. You're gonna get people.
I
The Die Hard
mean-
fans are gonna come out of the woodwork.
Okay, you can, sure. It is, but it isn't. Just
right,
like
no,
Harry Potter.
right?
It
No,
is, but it
isn't.
isn't.
Yeah, just because it has
It's
a Christmas
set
scene
in
right,
Christmas
yeah.
time, but it's
Well,
not
and I mean,
a
like you think
Christmas
about watching the
movie.
Harry Potter movies, like I mean, back when ABC Family, now what, Freeform was a thing.
Yes.
Like,
Oh, they still play Harry Potter for
and that
Christmas.
was a huge part of that part of the programming, you know. And so I don't know. It's just like always kind of like that in Star Wars too. People
Yeah.
always watch Star Wars. Like back when Spike TV was a thing, they'd be running Star Wars, you know, like all 7 movies straight. It was great. But that said, moving on to the other best parts of Christmas, I guess I should say, is the sweets, you know, the desserts, and
Yes.
so it's hard to narrow down. But if you say are, you know, designing a Christmas cookie of some kind, what's your go-to? You know, what's your go-to cookie?
Go-to cookie?
Oh yeah,
Man, I would just say a straight old chocolate chip cookie.
really?
I just love them. I mean,
Okay.
for my go-to, absolutely.
Yeah,
That warm, gooey chocolate
Yeah.
chip cookie.
touche. And then so for me, I mean, it'd have to be a sugar cookie. I
Really?
just
Yeah.
prefer sugar
Okay.
cookies. Sometimes they can be too sweet. You know what I mean? Like with the chocolate chips and whatnot. I mean,
Nah.
it's not. I'm also weird about sweets sometimes too.
Yep,
Like
you are.
you are much more like I love the sweet, and I do
I
love
do.
sweets. I have a sweet tooth, but it's just like it has to be like specific things.
The right sweet.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just picky and weird, but that's here nor there. Definitely in here. But that said, what other like must-have foods do you
Well-
go to, like, or go-tos around the holiday season
It's
for you?
still a dessert, but it's something that we always get every year is a Yule log.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so that's just like the family thing. We just get that usually for Christmas, Christmas Eve. So
Yep. So expect a Yule log. Gotcha.
yep, we're having one. So
Not like fruitcake or something like that.
no,
you know what I
Yule
mean?
log.
Yeah, Yule log.
You got to expect that. So
Or like some people, I remember having like a cheese log at certain holiday functions and stuff. It's
no.
just no Yule log.
Yule
That's-
log.
That's fair.
Yep.
For me, and I guess like kind of what I was getting at too with other foods is like a lot of people cook some people cook a turkey.
Yeah, we don't. We
Um,
just do the little hors d'oeuvre
d'oeuvres,
stuff. Yeah.
And that's cool too. I mean, we've done ribs before. I think like doing barbecue for Christmas is a great idea
Yeah,
personally.
that's cool. We always Christmas morning we usually do cinnamon rolls too.
Oh, fun.
That's just
Yep,
a
yep.
random, you know,
That's
whatever.
a good time.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's a really good time. I've done monkey bread before.
Yep,
Which I mean, same diff really. I
Right.
mean, in the roundabout way.
Yep. Just
Um,
something to whatever.
Yeah, no, and that's it. That's really cool, and I mean, very unique that the holiday is going to be what it is going to be, but at the same time, you make it what you make it at the same
Yes.
time. So, that being said, it really is kind of what you make it, but at the same time, we do understand that people have tough time around the holidays.
For sure.
So,
For sure.
I wish everybody, like I said before, moving on to our next part of the segment or the next part of the podcast here, I do wish everybody a good holiday season. Like I said, I know it's not easy for everybody, but for those of you who are having a good time, keep having a good time, and those of you that aren't, know that there are people there for you.
Absolutely.
Reach out if you're feeling lonely. I mean, like there's always an extra seat at the table. So you'd be surprised.
And it's been a rough year too.
Yeah, it
like
has
it's been a hard
it's
hard
been
year.
a hard year for a lot of people. That's kind of not the
Good way to segue into
no,
the
it
next
is
thing.
yeah right, but but at the same time it is and to preface, I know 2024 guys, we had an election and we are going to talk about that, but it's not going to be in a bitching like, oh, it's all their fault type of thing or this that.
No.
It's just as a very matter of fact, like, well, this happened, so now this is what's going to happen next. And again, guys, I know you've heard me rant about politics on here before, and I don't try to rant. I try to have a discussion. It's different when you have another person, here too. But and I mean, and to preface, Beck and I agree on a lot of things, but we don't agree on everything,
Right.
to a T. Like we have very general, but like there are very general, I guess, platforms that we don't budge on in terms of some personal freedoms and stuff like that are just non-negotiable, non-starters. You know what I mean? So, that being said, though, just kind of 2024 as a whole, like you said, it was a tough year for a lot of people. I think that the best way to sum up this year in a big way, especially financially speaking, if you had investments, it was a good year for you. But if you didn't have a lot of investments, it was not a great year for a lot
Right.
of people.
Yep.
And I think that, you see kind of that disconnect between some of the older and younger generations. I think you've also seen the shift in the housing market. It's
Yes.
starting to come down a little
It
bit,
is.
which is
Yep.
very reassuring, I guess, in a lot of ways. Like
Right.
it has to. If you really want the society to work properly, you need to have the housing prices come down. And I'm not trying to get something. That's what I don't want to have it be confused. I'm trying to get something for nothing. I don't expect the government to pay for my housing.
No.
I don't expect any of that, but I do expect that the rates are going to be reasonable. So, you can't really have a good, a good stable. I'm not talking about economy like, oh, all the shareholders made money. I'm talking about like local economies, like shops have people, spending money and going into them, like local places. You know what I mean? But the only way to do that is for people to have secure, safe places to live. And I think that a lot of that goes back to, the issues from COVID. I mean, you have these groups that are buying up all these single-family homes and stuff like that, which does not help anybody except somebody's bank account, which is too bad. And I think that you've seen, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you've started to see, like, some people are really starting to get fed up with the greed.
Yes.
And I think that, and that's kind of made me optimistic going into the next year, too, is that we're finally, I think some people, not everybody, I think a lot of people are over the greed, though, and they have woken up and realized that, hey, like, people aren't working for us, especially the people down in the D.C. area.
Yeah.
And even to the, the State House to a certain degree. I think you saw things go away because people had a feeling, but it doesn't always mean it's the right feeling or the reaction. The reaction to the feeling might not always be the right way in the long term. And like I said, I'm not trying to sway people to vote however the fuck you want to vote. I don't care personally. I could not care in the slightest. Like, actually, the first step is to vote.
Right.
Because
but you have to deal with the repercussions of your choice as well.
Yeah. Even if you think you made the right choice.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already starting to see some things play out before Trump has even stepped into the office.
Yeah.
So
and that's very true.
I don't know where things are gonna go, but
I don't either. And that's like
I want
to stay optimistic, but at the same time it's
and I don't want to have like that haha told you moment with anyone, but at the same time, like, you can't be stupid to not think that, like, you got to open your eyes a little bit and realize we don't really have the best choice in office.
We don't have, and I think that's
and the
just
people
not
that
at the
he's
top.
surrounding.
I think that's at a lot of different levels, right? The biggest thing that I've seen, and this is, again, Ryan Dumont used to work for the Republican Party. I see the biggest shortcoming of the GOP. Yes, you can win. Okay, congratulations. You guys know how to win, all right?
Yep,
you figured out, you figured out how to win back. But now you need to prove to myself and the American people that you guys know how to govern. And I'm going to preface this by saying you can't blame the Democrats for every problem that you have, because your whole party is not even united together.
Right.
Like, that party is fractured, and you're seeing it with this most recent round of, they had a bipartisan bill to fund the government, and that almost went completely out the window because they don't want to give credit to the other side. But it's not about credit. It's about, what are we doing for the American people?
Right.
And they're not, and that's what I think. And again, I'm not saying the Democrats have it all figured out. They have a lot of problems too. They drop the ball in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
and you can't just blame everything, like I said, you can't just blame everything on one group.
No, you
Each
can't.
side deserves equal amounts of blame for different reasons.
1000%. Yeah.
But if you're in power, you can't just sit there and cry and moan. You need to govern. You need to pass laws and, make sure the trash gets picked up and, do certain things like that. Make sure the water's drinkable and, just like normal certain things and surrounding. And the other, my other big gripe with what's been going on recently too is the people that have been or potentially going to be underqualified to run some of these cabinet positions.
I was just going to mention that.
They are underqualified. I mean,
grossly
underqualified.
People? Yeah, for some of these things.
I don't know why you would want, and again, like, I've got nothing against people in the media. It's not that my bias is against people in the media or people in conservative media. There are good people that works for Fox News. There are.
Sure.
The engineers and the people running the cameras, there are some good people that work there.
Yeah.
I worked with them.
Yep.
But the fact of the matter being is that if you're a Fox News talk show host or whatever, you've never served in the military in any capacity. And that's just like me saying, like, I would not be a good choice for Secretary of Defense.
No.
Because I've never served. Like, the closest I've gotten to any type of military tactics is fucking Call of Duty. You know what I mean? Like, I am not a tactician.
No.
I am not, and I would tell you, you need to have somebody with some military background.
Yeah. And why wouldn't you?
I don't know. I always believe, like, I like Abraham Lincoln's approach to, this is dating me now and showing my nerd side, but Abraham Lincoln's approach to a cabinet, and again, given they were in the midst of the Civil War,
Yes.
a lot bigger of a deal than what we're dealing with right now, but there are some similarities, though. The people are very divided, and people don't agree on what should be going on, but Lincoln grabbed the best people from each sector, and they all hated each other. All of his heads of cabinet hated each other, but he kept them together, and he made it work. And you had some very brilliant people. FDR did a lot of similar things with who he picked, and I mean, like, given the whole paradigm shift of what a Democrat and a Republican has changed 2-3 different times since then. But the fact of the matter being is that, you know, if you put good people around you, you will have good outcomes.
Right.
If you just surround yourself with a bunch. See, and if you're I believe this, if you're running a company or a governmental structure, if you have just people in there that are just going to nod their head and say, you're doing a great job.
Exactly.
You're Mr. Trump or, you know, whatever. Yeah, that's going to, you're going to get blindsided one of these days.
Well, it's like we just finished up that documentary on
Vince McMahon.
Vince McMahon.
Honestly, Mr. McMahon on Netflix. Great documentary.
Watch it.
You should watch it.
Watch it. It was interesting.
The last episode, I'll let you tee it up in just a second, Beck, but the last episode talks about how deeply ingrained the whole, like, false narrative of wrestling has embedded itself in the American political system.
Yes. I mean, they showed Trump was a
He
a part of
on
the show. He
WWE,
was a part of the show.
He was on Monday Night Raw.
With the character Mr. McMahon, and just to know that it's Linda, right? His wife, Linda McMahon. Like
she was in Trump's cabinet.
It's just it's just so foolish to me. Like it's just to me it's just a show. Like it's all just a show.
Vince even says that though. Like he as much as, and that's the cool thing about this documentary too, guys, is that they even say, like, all these wrestling guys who have been in wrestling a long time don't believe a single word any of us say because half of it's bullshit.
Yeah.
But, like, you have to feel like almost at the same time Vince was also being very sincere into the fact of, like, he was transparent about all of his shortcomings and stuff like that. I mean, he worded it differently. Like, he says, like, I could, like, lose control, and he I think the guy's more self-aware than he lets on.
For sure.
What I mean?
For
you know what I mean?
sure.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm just going to preface this by saying any type of sexual-related crime, whether it be trafficking or, you know, trying to hush money payments or anything like that, it shows low amounts of character, A, and B, you know, if you're going to, you know, step out and be, you know, unfaithful, just do your thing and be above board about it. It's when you start getting, I mean, that's muckety.
Yeah.
I still don't think we know the full extent of all of his crimes and stuff like that. I mean, same goes with the Orange Man too. I mean, I don't think we know the full. Well, we do to a point. We know, like, there's a lot of them, but we, you know, hard to hold the guy accountable when he just, you know, winks and all the court cases go away. So, but that said, I just hope that, you know, going into this next year that people are mindful about who they elect as their leaders, and I think
your research too.
I think it's not even that, but also just like, I mean, I know it's so hard to say, like, is this person a good person?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because nobody's perfect, right? You know what I mean? But, like, there's got to be a higher degree of something that we can be doing.
And kind of what you said earlier, like, things have changed. It's not just Democrat, Republican anymore. It's
hasn't been for a long time.
Different. And just because someone's a Republican or someone's a Democrat doesn't mean you have to vote for that person.
Right.
Go for who
the best person for the job is, right?
Exactly.
It's like, think about it as a job interview, right? Like, who is the best person for the job? And if you think that is the, you know, whatever candidate, so be it. You must have had your reasons.
Absolutely.
But you don't not expect some pushback. You know what I mean? Like, and that's
like,
what I think the problem is too, is that when people push back, they're like, oh, you're attacking me. It's like, no, I'm trying to have a debate.
Exactly. And people can't do that now. Like, if you think differently than somebody and you try to have a conversation, they assume you're attacking them.
You're attacking them. You're automatically, you know,
the bad guy.
A libtard or, you know, with this or with that, or, you know, it's just any type of blind devotion to anything is dangerous.
Well,
whether that be a political figure, a band, or a music group,
absolutely,
or anything.
I mean, I've been there with that experience.
Yeah, no,
but I mean,
seriously,
to bring that up too, just the fact of seeing so many signs and flags and people
It's the cult
making
of
it their personality.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird.
It's
weird.
It is weird.
It's never happened really ever. And
No.
I mean, maybe
even,
a little bit.
Even when Ronald Reagan
Yeah,
was
I was gonna
president,
say-
though, like, I mean, given maybe because I wasn't around for this
Right.
time period, but
Yep.
like, I never thought that people weren't flying Ronnie Reagan flags and like.
Yeah, I mean,
don't get me wrong. The guy was an actor before, so
For
like,
sure.
like there was stuff. You know what I mean? Like if
Yeah.
there was like Ronald Reagan merch of some
Yeah,
kind, like that makes sense.
they had it.
He was in the movies
But I
with
mean,
the
like, you
monkey
think
and
you
stuff.
think
you know,
back
like,
of like you'll have like a Nixon pin, like people had pins and
Pins,
people
yeah, that
had
was
like
I mean,
maybe signs and stuff,
political
but
pins
not
have been around
these
since the
giant
1800s,
things
yeah.
that just make like people all over their yard and all over their cars and everything.
Dude,
It's just
and like you said, it's become some people's entire
it
personality.
really is,
Which is scary.
and it's weird.
It's
It really is
it's-
just weird.
Never in a million years, and I mean, I think they definitely need to, like, as someone who sat through hours of political science
Mm-hmm.
classes and has watched things change a lot, just like I mean, literally, I started doing my political schooling in 2015,
Mm-hmm.
and to see how much things have changed
Oh,
in
yeah.
almost the 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, in part too, Becca, because, I mean, that's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
If I had known things were going to play out as they did, hindsight being what it is, I probably would have not majored in political science.
Right.
Knowing that if this is what was coming,
Mm-hmm.
it's a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
Nobody really wins.
No.
Well, actually, the winner, and this was the other thing I want to talk about before moving on from the election and politics, is that America is really not a democracy anymore. We're an oligarchy. We just kind of take care of big corporations.
Yep.
We need to really make sure that the insider trading in Congress stops.
Mm-hmm.
That is not party reliant. That is, are you an honest person,
Mm-hmm.
or are you using your job to make money off the backs of the American people?
Absolutely.
And I think that's problematic. You should not be able to enrich yourself off of being elected.
No,
That
not at all.
You should, if anything, lose money
Mm-hmm.
being an elected official because it's
1000%.
about service.
Yep. And that's on both sides.
See, and
that's
people
everywhere.
are like, oh, that's too idealistic. It's like, so it's too idealistic to ask people to just be like, not bought and paid for.
Mhm.
Like, I understand everybody's got a price. I have a price.
1000%.
It's high, but I have one. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, everybody's got a price, but
Mhm.
like, at what point, do people just say like, man, I can't live with myself anymore? I mean, I guess
Mhm.
I guess they don't care.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think some of these people that are in those positions, they lose their morals.
It's true. I mean, absolute power corrupts absolutely,
Mhm.
right? And I mean, like, not to sound like like a cop out, but like as Uncle Ben said in Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility.
Mhm.
And I think if public office was approached more that way,
Absolutely.
and again, I understand I'm super idealistic on a
Mhm.
lot of things in the political system, but like somebody's got to be
Right.
And like, shouldn't we be striving to be back towards the like Schoolhouse Rock?
I would think.
Right? Isn't
I
that the optimal way for
and
government to function?
For
I
sure.
don't know.
Like that's how I feel. And like people will say that he was totally out there, but like I was a huge Bernie fan. Like
Some of the things he proposed, and this is where I will break with you a little bit.
I get it.
As a fiscal person, you got to pay for it somehow.
1000%. And that's
so
I was going to bring that up.
If Mr. Sanders can explain to me how we're going to pay for it, and don't get me wrong, taxing the rich is a great way to start. I'm for that.
Yep.
Flat tax.
People will say, well, they earned it. Not all of them
really.
earned it. And all of them, if they even donated not even like a few percentages of what what their income is, then like they wouldn't even be losing anything.
No,
Like,
it's negligible
it's
loss.
it's just it would be nothing
But like,
to them.
I guess and I guess this is just a general question, not even just specifically related to this, but like, but it is very related to this
Mhm.
at the same point. Is like, at what point though is enough
Right.
enough?
Right.
Like, I don't feel like the average person, like, and that's why I fail to understand why they don't want the average person to be well off. It's like the average person doesn't want 3 fucking houses. The average
No.
person wants a halfway decent
Mhm.
place to lay their head. They maybe want a toy or two, like an ATV or a boat or a whatever it is that tickle, a
A
sports
nice
car
vehicle,
or
like,
whatever, or
yeah.
an antique car.
Mhm.
And there should be no reason in a country like the United States why that can't be the case. Like, and this is without even like addressing homelessness or any of the other big overarching issues. This is just like in general, why can't the average person, working as a plumber or working as a whatever, working 9 to 5, who's putting in their 40 hours or maybe doing a little bit more, working some overtime occasionally. There's no reason why they shouldn't be comfortable.
Well, it shouldn't be to the point. I know too many people that have 2 or 3 jobs and they still are struggling.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be happening.
No, it shouldn't be, especially in the most developed quote unquote country on earth, right?
Exactly.
And it's just too bad because, like, there are so many shortcomings in the system. Eventually, if we don't address any of them, it's going to be too far gone. I don't think we're at that point yet.
No.
But I think we're getting there.
Right.
Educationally speaking, I think you've seen the dumbing down of America pretty hard. I mean, like I said, the fact that, like, when I was teaching during my COVID year of teaching, the fact that 6th graders could not write sentences. And yeah, okay, you're going to put some blame onto the parents a little bit. They should be making sure their kids. I mean, but again, if that person's working 3 jobs, how are they going to have?
Right.
And maybe it's not their only kid. You know what I'm saying? It's tough, and I understand. But, like, you do have to give a little bit of blame to the parents, but the system itself needs to be blamed too.
Exactly.
And again, I don't understand how you can just push kids on when they don't have the criteria met. Like, I understand we can't hold kids back forever, but it's like, you're seeing what's going on outside the window right now is a direct result of years and years and years of eroding away at public education.
Absolutely.
And I understand some people like the idea of charter schools, but as you know, O2 personally, that's not always the best case. Like,
No,
I'm
it
glad
can work for some kids, for sure.
I'm glad that some people can be creative and stuff like that, but at the same time, you got to be able to do the basics. And if you're skipping the basics to make somebody feel warm and fuzzy, I don't know.
It's not going to help them out.
I mean,
in life.
I'm glad they're in touch with themselves. And
Sure.
and don't get me wrong, being able to be in touch with your feelings and stuff is very important. To be able to emotionally regulate yourself is important. Don't get me wrong, but, like, you also need to be able to, like, communicate and do basic math.
Yep.
Like, there is no substitute for that.
Nope.
There's no substitute for a lot of things, frankly.
No.
You need to have the real thing or nothing. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? But I don't know. That was just my very general gist on, like, what's going on. We just have to be mindful about, again, who we're electing to office. And, it's just, I don't understand, too. I guess the one last thing I will say is, so many people have been bullied in their lives in some way, shape, or form, capacity. I struggled with bullying growing up in school. A lot of people do.
Yep.
But why would you want to elect
A bully?
a bully? And that's exactly what he is. He is he's a bully. For making fun of people with special needs, to regardless if they're a member of the media and they don't like you. If they have special needs, probably leave them alone.
Women,
Women,
people of color.
and people of color and other. Just generally being a disrespectful human being, like, oh, just beat the shit out of, like all that stuff. I don't know.
I wish I could punch his face in right now.
Beat his face in. It's like,
I mean,
I guess my problem is, why are we so afraid of having somebody who's kind? Like,
that's kind of what I was getting at with
should
Bernie.
Yeah.
Like, Bernie was totally out there, but to me, at least he wanted to at least bring the majority of Americans together.
Working class people.
He wanted people to have, and why wouldn't we, to me, why wouldn't we want everybody to have some type of similar opportunity to get things? Why does it need to be so divided?
And that's why I loved and still do. Bill Weld is a good man. Unfortunate circumstances, and again, my situation with the Weld campaign was my situation with the Weld campaign. But he always said, closing out his stump speech, the opportunity and the door to the middle class should not be shut in anybody's faces. Everybody should have an equity of opportunity.
Exactly.
He says that's from the impoverished kid living in a...
And I'm not saying everybody should be handed everything.
No, but
there should be opportunity for all.
Yes. Yeah. No, yeah. And if you want, if this kid has the opportunity to go and play sports, this kid should probably also have the opportunity. Like, they're not both going to be starting varsity athletes, but if you really want to play field hockey or you really want to play soccer or whatever, like, probably should be given the opportunity to do so.
Sure.
And that's just very basic stuff. But,
right.
like, it extends to other stuff. And I mean, I've talked about this on the podcast before with Lucas and with my buddy Chap and a few other folks that have come on that are very much in tune with, like, we listen to a lot of rap and in college, specifically 2 Chainz, and he, rap or go to the league, which for a lot of young, especially people of color, is a reality. You either end up on the streets slinging, or you
Yep.
end up going to some school because of sports, or you end up becoming a rapper or entertainer or whatever, or you get stuck or whatever. And that whole concept is still very real, and not just for the folks in high density minority areas, but for poor white people too.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't know, they're just as bad off as some people of color. And on top of that, a lot of them are tricked to think that the people that are bettering them are not actually looking out for them at
exactly.
all. And
they're pinning the people, or they're pinning people against each other that don't need to be against each other.
It's like
we should be fighting
it's like
together.
The classic, exactly. It's like, and that's exactly it. You don't want people, especially like I said, we're an oligarchy. The corporations don't want people working together because
that'll shut them down.
Yeah, we'll shut them down. If you probably heard about this, growing up, like you got like that email from your aunt or something like, if everybody doesn't buy gas on September 24th, dude, we're going to stick it to the gas and oil companies. And it's like, but if actually everybody did that, holy shit.
Right.
If you could actually get the buy-in, you could accomplish some crazy shit. There is power in people, and the power of the people is important. But I think a lot of times these days, people just forget about that.
For sure. And
they're too busy fighting over, well, so-and-so has this on Instagram, and I don't, so I'm going to hate them.
And, like, not to, like, talk too much on it, but, like, the shooting of, like, the CEO and stuff. Like, obviously...
You can't not talk about it, though.
Right. Murder's wrong, 1,000%, but it's kind of a wake-up call to everybody.
Well,
I mean...
and that's interesting, and you say that, and I agree with you 100%. They had one of the head people from the NYPD on there. He is not a hero. He should not be idolized. He should not be. And you're right to a point, ma'am.
Sure.
But also, think about all the lives that the insurance industry in this country has ruined,
and just
or bankrupted, or just
that man that was murdered. He didn't do it. He didn't do it with his own hands, but he kind of played God with a lot of people's lives.
All those healthcare CEOs do.
They do.
Yeah.
But it's like, you can't, and I'm not saying, he had it coming, but at the same time, like, if you're going to play God with people, you kind of, again, have to deal with those repercussions of some of those actions.
Because you're not a god, you're a
not.
mortal human
You're a
being.
person.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I mean by a moment of reckoning. I think if you keep making people's lives so terrible, and again, you can't just blame. Don't get me wrong, Biden administration has not done everything right by any means, but you can't blame them for all the problems.
No,
because
they came into a shit show.
They inherited a mess.
And if you don't think that,
and if you don't think that, I will sit down and I would happily explain to you why that is actually the case. Again, gutted the EPA, gutted a lot of government institutions that just make sure that the water is clean, the air is clean, and just make sure that people actually have halfway decent lives. Like I said, it's just kind of scary, and like I said, I really do hope that people really do put some thought into what they do in the next year.
Yeah, I mean, my new favorite sarcasm thing that's just come out is them cutting the funding for pediatric cancer. So it's like, the people that really are pro-life, are you fucking pro-life?
Yeah, no, it makes you wonder.
Do you just care about the fetus? And then, clearly you just care about the fetus, and then afterwards you could give no fucks.
And if they cared, if they cared about children's lives,
that should not be something that's getting fucking cut.
We wouldn't have foster homes,
right?
Like everybody would keep their kid, and you know what I mean. Like, I don't
know.
Like,
why aren't you adopting these kids, or why aren't you a foster parent if you care so much about these lives?
You're such good Christian people. Like, why don't you? Follow, what like Jesus said, and take care of the less fortunate.
Do what Jesus do.
Yeah, you clothe.
Do you though? I don't
you clothed
think so.
me when I was closed. You fed me when I was hungry, and well, now you just want to take care of yourselves. Where does it say be a selfish pig?
Yeah.
Oh wait, it doesn't. Anyway, moving on.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I just don't care anymore.
Nope.
And it might get worse as the year goes on. I can't guarantee anything. But that said, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about something a little bit more positive.
Sure.
As you know, we love talking about music on here as much as we do ranting against, certain political figures. But that said, we actually had the unique opportunity to see a lot of different music this year.
Yeah, we did.
And, a lot of it was, of a similar genre. and has some overlap, but at the same time, they're all very unique shows in their own right. So back in what was it, May? We saw Willie Carlisle.
Was it May?
I think it was May.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
we'll go with that. Back in May, we saw Willie Carlisle. Shout out to Willie. We've talked about this on with Becca's episode, but God, what a great dude.
Great dude. Yeah.
Just I can't describe.
It was such a personal show.
What exactly?
Yeah.
That is the best way to say it. It was a very personable and personal experience.
Yep.
He played to a room of, I think there were probably maybe 50 people
Yeah.
in there. Which does not indicate that he has a pretty good sized following for this just real humble dude from like Missouri, Oklahoma area down that part of the down south that way. I mean, guy lived on a commune for a few years. Just has lived a very interesting life, and his music reflects that. Just really beautiful stuff, from talking about anything with the struggles of addiction to counting critters on the side of the road, as
Yep.
you driving to and from places.
Yep.
It was just really really unique in that regard. And it was just, I don't know, I felt you can almost see the stories come alive when
Oh,
he's
for
playing.
sure.
And I mean, the emotion that this guy is displaying, because a lot of the songs, at one point I told this story, I think, when we had you on for your episode, Beck, but he at the end he's like, anybody want to hear any other songs? And I'm
yes,
like,
yeah.
play Cheap Cocaine.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh man, the internet must have told you to like that one. It's like, well, no, I just really do like the song.
Right.
And he goes, this one's a tough one for me. It talks about like people who I wrote it about are no longer with us. And I'm like, oh shit. I felt bad for even
Yeah.
recommending it after the fact. And Willie, if you ever do happen to listen to this, I will never request that song again at another show. I will let it come up organically or not at all. I am so
Exactly.
sorry. But that said, I still do love your music, and we're number 5 on my Spotify Wrapped for artists, and so just absolutely incredible show there. And the Aaron Jonah Lewis, who he had open,
He was wonderful.
was incredible too.
He was great.
And I think that the cool thing about this, I guess what I call my type of modern country, is that these people are not like Hank Williams Jr. and
No.
rhinestones and cowboy hats. I still love that part of the country music
each
thing
their own.
personally. Like I said, Saturday Night Gold, baby. But the fact of the matter being is that Aaron Jonah Lewis was up there in a skirt.
Yep. Rocking it.
Doesn't give a fuck.
Rocking it.
He's up there in a skirt and a fiddle, and like I said, I mean, like, if people are going to be that upset with what people wear, you know what I mean? Like, get over yourselves.
Yeah.
And I just
You
think
clearly have a problem with yourself if you worry about what other people are doing.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. If that's like your biggest concern is what somebody's wearing, I mean, as long as they're not, revealing any,
Yeah.
anything,
anything.
any
yeah.
parts, male or female parts
Yeah.
for that matter, it don't matter.
Let people live their
Just let
life.
people live their lives,
Mhm.
and that's another thing that really is. I think that's a mindset that takes a lot of people time to come around to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's.
I guess, but I guess I can't see that. I don't want to see that side.
I don't either. But I mean, I have seen it though. I've lived it. I mean,
Right.
Not just me personally, and softening on my own views of certain things, because, like I said, I was very much a staunch conservative before I went to college and learned how the world worked, and other things like that. And like I said, until somebody pulls back the veil of ignorance, how the fuck are you supposed to know? I
Right.
mean, you can research, but sometimes it takes like that aha moment for people.
For sure.
And that's why I try to be patient with some of the people who, well, used to be like me, really. I mean, like, because everybody can be shown, once in a while you can see the light in the dark, the
Yeah.
strangest of places if you look at it right. You know what I'm saying? Like, people just need to be given that aha moment. And for some people, it takes them their whole lives to find. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that makes them bad people. It just, some people, it takes a little bit longer to come around.
Just try to have an open mind.
Right.
I mean,
That-
even if you don't
yes,
agree, just
yeah. Don't be
accept that things
judgmental
are
and just-
different,
just roll with it,
and
yeah.
accept that there are different people out there.
Weird is cool.
It can be
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Weird is cool.
And it doesn't mean that you have to be super into it, but
Yeah,
just accept
no.
that.
And you don't even have to accept it, really, but just keep that.
Well, just accept that those are things that are out there.
Right. I'm saying
know?
you don't personally have to accept it in your heart of hearts, but
No.
just accept that is going to be part of society.
Exactly. Yep.
And then so moving forward, you saw Cake.
I saw Cake.
Yep.
Yep.
In June, or was it?
It was. I think so.
Yeah.
I know this whole
Year,
year was a blur.
Yeah, so you saw,
But
and then
yeah,
you saw Cake.
Yep, saw Cake with
Not so great weather.
No, the weather was horrible. And then I love them, but they just chatted
About
way
the tree.
too much about the damn tree that they give away. It's
Which
awesome.
is great that they
and
do
it's
that.
great. They give a tree away every single show that they do. It's really awesome. People plant them. They're, giving to the earth. I love that.
All
But
for it.
he just talked so much that it's just like, where is the music?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was kind of disappointed. And, and the first time I saw them too, last year, almost like they got rained out. So we had like it postponed to the next day. And I just felt like they didn't play like a full set because it was a Monday night. So I just feel like kind of the same experience.
Yeah, that's too
why
bad.
it's like, ugh, do I want to give them another shot? Because I just had 2 really bad experiences, but I fucking love them.
Well, that's
so
why I say if you see him in maybe like more of a festival format, like
maybe
we've
that'll
talked
be
about, I
different.
think it could definitely change the outcome there. And then fast forward to August?
Yep.
We saw 2 more shows.
Yep.
The first being Joe Russo's Almost Dead. In hindsight being what it is,
we talked about those a little bit.
we did.
Yep.
In hindsight being what it was for that show, I'd like to give him another chance.
For sure.
I just think that the night we got was just
Not
kind
a
of
good
weird,
night.
just a weird set list.
Yep.
And I think that but the versions of Brown Eyed Woman and
I
stuff,
feel like
they
I'd want to
ripped
see
it.
them more in like a venue.
Yeah, inside,
like versus
yeah.
outside. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. And then, Dark Star Orchestra goes
Was
without
amazing.
saying that was the highlight of my summer easily. To see one of the shows from the mid '80s, his '85 show from like Pennsylvania or somewhere.
That was great.
Fucking unbelievable, man. I mean, they ripped it too. I mean, they even have like Discount Donna up there. I mean, I don't know her real actual name, and I apologize.
She was great.
You're not Discount. You're actually very great. But like,
She was awesome.
they brought her out, and it was just cool.
Hell yeah.
And it just felt as authentic as an experience as I can without actually, having, Bobby, Jerry, and the boys, being around. And I think that's cool that this year, too, the Kennedy Center honored the Grateful Dead in their contributions to, like, American society and music. Very fitting. Too bad that they don't extend the honors to those members who have passed.
Right.
Because technically Phil was supposed to be at R.I.P. Phil. That's another huge loss for this year. Phil Lesh, man. God, I saw Phil play twice with his son, Phil Lesh, the rest of Phil Lesh and friends, and just an absolutely fantastic experience that I am really happy that I got to see. And unfortunately, we lost Phil, like a month ago now? Or 2 months ago
maybe
now?
A month and a half, yeah.
And, I know all the Deadheads all over the world are really, felt that one this year because, I mean, Phil, God, talk about an underrated member of the band. I mean, musically very, 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 very intelligent. I mean, he was literally a classical music composer. Never picked up the bass but Jerry knew. Like, I love hearing the story, but Bobby tells it. He's like, Jerry knew that Phil was going to be a great bass player. It's like, but the dude never picked up a bass.
No.
Like, how do you know that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and Phil, honestly,
they were all just so connected too.
Yeah, but Phil was one of the best bass players, not just in rock music, but I think
kind of ever.
I mean, ever. I mean, his bass, he played a very unique style bass.
Absolutely.
And I mean, some of the Phil bombs that he would just absolutely rip and not blow out like speakers and monitors and stuff like that. I mean, also talks about their cultivation of sound and music too. But I mean, man, oh man, like watching Phil play even at 80-something years old, the 2 times I saw him, once in Portland and once in Boston. I'm glad I did because
it was
a lot
amazing.
of people can't say that they did,
Right,
now. And so definitely going to, keep track of like what his kid Graham Lesh is doing. Graham's an incredible musician. People don't like how he sings. I think he sounds great. I think the kid's really talented, and he was really the one putting the stuff together for the Phil Lesh and friends. He'd get the musicians together.
Absolutely.
And just like have his dad come in and just rip in rehearsals. And you could tell though that Phil was definitely starting to get a little older.
For sure.
Because like the last time I saw them, they only did a 3-night run on the East Coast.
Yep.
They did Boston, somewhere in Connecticut, and I can't think they did it for some like festival, Deadhead like festival. But it was just, there are a lot of things I just wish I got to see. Like they did a big like Sunday concert out there, the Sunshine Daydream, among other things out there that I just kind of wish I got to go and see. But, so is life. You know what I mean? You don't get to do everything you want, unfortunately, including probably go to the Sphere and seeing Dead and Company, but that's here nor there.
Maybe.
That's my wish for 2025. Yeah. If anybody's looking to, dispose of any Sphere tickets for Dead and Company or DC60 or GD60, whatever they're calling it, we'll take it.
Yes.
If you just want to buy, someone's feeling good. Someone's got some of them rich people I was talking about earlier with that disposable income, man. No, I'm kidding. But then to cap off, I guess, the year musically, a few weeks ago we saw Mr. Sturgill Simpson.
Yes.
And holy shit,
he was awesome.
Stu was on it. He's like, he gets up there, he goes, I'm going to play for 3.5 hours straight. And then he just rips it. Doesn't say another fucking word.
Nope.
Just gets in there.
And then when he was done, he was done.
Yeah.
And this is the first time, I have been to many concerts in my life. This is the first time this show said it started at 8. That motherfucker was out there at 8.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Yep,
and he was playing. He was out there.
Yep.
And I was like, no, because, you just expect to wait 15 minutes or so before a show starts.
Yep.
Nope. He was ready,
he was right out
and
there,
he
no
was
opener.
ripping. And he was awesome. And I'm not really a country fan, nor do I really know many of his songs, but I was fucking in it. It was great. It was a good time.
Like they crossed genres several times that night. I mean, they were even like teasing some Zeppelin in there, like live it, love it.
Yep.
Like they had that, stuck that in there, and I mean, like, I don't know, just all of his different stuff from all over the the ages and whatnot. I mean, like, because he's had a pretty like expansive career. Not all of his albums are country albums. I mean, like, he's got Cut in the Grass, which is more of a bluegrass album, which he even like does bluegrass covers of his like country songs.
That rock one that has like the video to it.
Oh yeah, that Mercury in Retrograde from the anime thing. He also went over to Japan and got the top anime producers and designers and whatever in Japan drunk. And then pitched this show to them and had them work together on this thing, and it's
crazy.
It's wild. But
insane.
You know what? I'm for it. I'm very much for it. But I mean, like, he's got a Sailor's Guide to the Universe, and other albums. Not a single one of his albums is like another. You've got his like classic country western ballad album, which is the Ballad of Dude and Juanita.
Yep.
Which is a great. That's where the song Sam comes from. Talking about his dog.
Yep.
Which is, I mean, two and three.
Yes.
Like the many old dogs, but Sam was the the hound of hounds.
Yeah.
It's just like, if anybody who's had that like family dog relates to that song, it's very good
For sure.
And I did not do any of the lyrics justice, but go look them up. That's what self research is for. But that said, we're also joined by guest of the podcast and good buddy, Mr. Jacob Bass, and shout out to his wife Allison, who is pregnant and was very much a trooper at the show.
Yes,
was standing right there with us for almost
pretty much
90%. I mean, they were
time.
there for 90% of the show, and like I said, awesome to see you guys, and like I said, shout out to Big Al because she's a trooper. She is a trooper. And so is Jake. Good job, Jake. So getting away from like live music a little bit, every year, whether the song came out that year, you discover new music. And so I guess kind of just trying to wrap out this episode, and so people can, do a little bit more research of their own after the episode wraps up.
Sure.
What's a song or two that you found this year? Again, didn't have to come out this year, didn't have to be a brand new song in 24, but what's a song either you reinvent or refound this year or whatever that...
So one that popped up, because I love Spotify. They do like different day lists for you. I feel like this band popped up for me, and I just really love them. But one of their songs, I think it was my top song on Spotify this year, was Tied Up Right Now by Parcels.
Okay.
They're it's so fun, just like a groovy little jam, and they just like, I don't know, just hype it up. Like, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
That one's definitely my number one for sure.
Understood.
And then I would just say artists people should check out. I discovered her last year, but she's getting, I think, more popular. I heard one of her songs on XM radio, starting to hear it out and about more, is Lily. Or not Lily.
Lily Young.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Lola Young.
Yeah,
Lola Young.
Lily.
Fucking Lola Young.
That's okay.
Amazing.
Yeah, she is.
She's a British artist. She's just raw. She
Yeah,
just sings about
I
raw
think
and real
she's from
shit.
like the Birmingham area because
Yep.
she very much has that like if you've ever seen the show Peaky Blinders, she very much has like a
that twang.
that kind of accent, not from like London or anything like
Yep.
that, but like that very much like Birmingham area part of England.
Just so raw and real and just good music. Like really good shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Messy. Yeah, Messy is her song that's blowing up right now.
Yeah, and actually she was on she has a feature on Tyler the Creator's
She does.
newest album, which I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but
really good.
Yeah, no, very good and cool to see her collaborating with very much American artists. Like Tyler the Creator is like that quintessential.
I was gonna say another one that pops up in my head too, but you can finish. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say you probably have it on your list. Never Ender.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I was gonna talk about Justice a little bit because like for a lot of people, Justice was big like in the early 2000s.
I've always loved Justice.
But I'm saying for the majority of people,
sure.
like I like hadn't thought about them. Like I'm thinking of DANC, like that's the last time I really thought about Justice was that album.
Sure.
And I mean for them to come out with not just the 2 songs with Tame Impala, but also with the song they have with Thundercat. They have a whole array of songs with Miguel. They have a whole a whole slew of features that really kind of got me back into like kind of broke my hiatus of like electric music. Definitely listening to more of that since that album came out this year. And I mean, throwing on Never Ender at a couple weddings that I've done, the response has been fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Because the song slaps.
And now they have like a remix that they did, and it's even
sick.
better. I
It's
think,
actually it is.
For the weddings.
definitely be using that in the future. Another big one for me was just like, I mean, partially because I started hanging out with you, but was Jungle. I mean,
yes.
I mean, anything from like Casio to I've Been in Love to Back on 74. Any of those songs.
Great. Yeah, I love Jungle.
Jungle.
Look them up.
They're great.
Great.
The other one that I was thinking of, I mean, other than like some of the Tame Impala Justice stuff.
Yep.
Was let me see here. I don't know. I've just kind of all over the place this year between like. Started listening to a lot more Charlie Crockett too from the country side of things. I mean, he is the black cowboy. I mean, like he is like kind of like a new day Charlie Pride for a lot of people. I mean, no, seriously. I mean, I would give my like left arm to see Charlie Crockett in concert. Same thing with another song. I mean, I knew it was out there, but I didn't really start listening to it heavily until this year. Was Choctaw Bingo. That's a fucking great song.
Yep.
And actually, shout out to guy I work with, Tom. Tom was blasted. There's a great moment I can think of this year. I was helping out in shipping and receiving one day when things were slow, and Tom has one of those Milwaukee radios out in the shop, and so he knows I like country music. He's a big fan of Sturgill Simpson too, and we listen to a lot of the same stuff. And so he's threw on Choctaw Bingo, and so I said, and the intro goes. This next one's a song about the northern Texas, southern Oklahoma crystal methamphetamine industry, and I rattled that right off. And he goes, "You know this song?" I go, "Oh, do I know the Choctaw Bingo, Tom?" And so here I am, fucking sweeping, dancing around, and one of the girls from service comes out. She goes, "You get it, Ryan." I'm like,
"Oh my god,
thank you." Yeah, no, it was priceless. But I don't know. You just gotta have a good time some days, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Lola Young though, definitely check her out. As well. Also, too, another big year for, I know it's kind of more like lovey-dovey type stuff, but is Steven Sanchez there? Until I Found You.
Yep.
That was another, I thought, a pretty good song for the year. That could have even technically come out last year, but whatever. It's kind of cool to see sounded like, because his whole thing was like he was like the new crooner. And I'm big on that type of stuff. You know, like, I mean, the last real like new crooner we had was Michael Bublé. So, and he's not really even new anymore. He's been around a while. He's very well known. He's a household name at this point. So, and I just think that like that kind of style of music has really gone by the wayside and is really much a passion of mine. Like, I'll be honest with you, and I know you've seen from like the album cover that a friend of mine, shout out Olivia Morrissey, made a great album cover back when we were at St. A's. I just really like that style of music, and I really would if I could put out 2 albums one of them would be a Christmas album. It'd be like a big band Christmas album.
Nice.
And the second one would be just a regular, like, give me an orchestra, give me like Count Basie's orchestra,
Yeah.
Glenn Miller's orchestra, and let me just wing it, dude. It'll be great.
Oh my god.
We'll go up there, we'll start tap dancing. Oh, we'll have a great time, dude. We'll do like the old like Dean Martin, show. We'll go up there, tell a couple jokes, rip a couple songs, pretend to be hammered on whiskey, like just great times. Absolutely great times. But it's been a great year for music, and it's always a great year for music, especially if you have the chops for it.
Right. Yep.
And especially if you love music, then you're never in really short supply. But that said, that's kind of honestly where I'm going to leave things before the new year, guys.
Yeah.
I'm cautiously optimistic about certain things and
Yep.
downright disappointed about others. But hey, man, that's life. But
I guess we'll see in 7 days.
Yeah,
right?
I guess we're right. Yeah, no, I am, like I said, I'm definitely optimistic in certain aspects, but cautious in others. But that said, I just wanted to take a second to thank all of you. We have another year down. I can't believe we're going to be going into our fourth year
right?
of programming, I guess, if you want to call it that. I'll be honest with you guys. I have no idea what the next year is going to bring, because I'm going to be graduating from electrical school, and it's just going to be different, guys. Things are going to change again. Things have kind of been pretty stable the last 2 years in regards of, this is what I do every day. Even though, working part-time, it's been kind of weird, but things are going to change a little bit. I hope to try to do some rebranding and try to bring some new and fresh stuff here to you guys, because I know that same old gets old after a while, and just try to always do something a little bit different. Like I said, I know I've talked about like having, people on to play live music on here and stuff like that, but we're just going to kind of take one day as it comes, guys, because it can be a lot sometimes. So
For sure.
that said, thank you all, though, for tuning in. And those of you that have been consistently listening, you guys are the real heroes here. Wouldn't do it without you guys, the folks that come back every month. Because if, you guys weren't there, this thing probably wouldn't be here. So, again, if you've shared, done anything, really, I mean, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope you guys have a great new year, and please keep listening. Writing reviews, liking videos, sharing. Again, if everybody who's listening to this episode could just take the opportunity to share this when they're done, that would make a huge difference.
Yes.
Huge difference. Like I said, so it only takes one episode to blow up, guys. You know what I'm saying? And so like like I said, I don't need to be famous, guys, but the bigger this thing gets, the better content I can bring to you. And there are a lot of things I would like to do with having other, assets at my disposal.
Absolutely.
With getting bigger. And so, like I said, guys, thank you so much. And like I said, the year to come will be an interesting one for sure. But just keep the faith, keep it tuned, right here to the DuView podcast. DuView 207 on Instagram, and the DuView podcast, like I said, everywhere you get podcasts. So, again, thank you to Miss Becca B for coming on, and
Thank you, babe.
wish everybody else a very Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year. So we will see you guys back here in 2025 with an all-new episode of the DuView podcast. Be safe, be well, and for the love of God, don't get into too much trouble in this holiday
be safe.
season.
Be safe.
So I don't want to hear no police blotter calls from people I know. All right, keep your noses clean. All right, be good, everybody.
Bye.